Hello friends, my name is Nikhil Singh Charak and I am working as an assistant professor in the School of Vocational Studies, Ambedkar University, Delhi. Today I will be discussing about the topic handicrafts and performing arts. Subtopics which I will be covering under the same are describing the different handicrafts of India, list the well-known performing arts of India, describe the importance of music, dance and drama, impact of tourism on culture, explain the significance of handicrafts and arts in India. So we start with the first topic, that is introduction. India's rich cultural heritage and centuries of evolutionary tradition is manifested by the huge variety of handicrafts made all over the country. Handicrafts are a mirror of the culture, identity of the ethnic people who make it. As we all know that India is a land of diversity in terms of ethnic tourism as well as the cultures, architectures and so on. Through the ages, handicrafts made in India like the Kashmiri woolen carpets, embroideries, fabrics, terracotta and ceramic products like fabrics, etc. have maintained their exclusiveness. In the ancient time, these handicrafts were exported to far off countries of Europe, Africa, West Asia and Far East via the Silk Route. The entire wealth of timeless Indian handicrafts has survived through the ages. These crafts carry the magnetic appeal of the Indian culture that promises exclusive beauty, dignity and style. India has had many rulers over the centuries and they have all had an effect on the culture of India. In dance, music, festival, architecture, traditional customs, food and languages, one can see the impact of different cultures. The heritage and culture of India is exhaustive and vibrant owing to the impact of all these different cultures. These cultural richness goes a long way toward projecting India as the ultimate cultural tourism destination to increase tourism in India. So the second subtopic is arts and handicrafts and the role of tourism in it. Visual arts such as paintings and other artifacts and handicrafts are important attractions for tourists. They form an important subset of cultural tourism which has been discovered as an effective marketing tool to attract those travelers with special interest in arts and crafts. We notice that commercial art galleries, antique shops and museums, which also include site museums associated with specific archaeological, cultural, historical and natural features, are developed to tap tourists, both the international tourists as well as the domestic tourists with special interest in heritage and art. This has also made various state governments in India to open arts and handicrafts emporium. These centers aim at maintaining minimum quality standards, pay the producer an equitable price and set a fair pricing structure. The tourists are informed about these centers through hyper publicity, make these centers an attraction in themselves, inviting visits. It is generally observed that demonstrations by the artists and craft persons in making art and craft objects can be an interesting and educational experience for the tourist and may induce them to make purchases. In order to induce tourists to buy the local artifacts, various cultural festivals related to local traditions and arts are also organized in various parts of India. An important question with regard to the promotion of art and handicraft is whether the authenticity is traditional styles should be maintained or not. There are two schools of thoughts in this respect. The first school points out that authenticity, at least in terms of utilizing traditional skills, techniques and materials, should be maintained. The other school thinks that designs can be modified to suit tourist market demand. In the tourism industry, creation of jobs and earning foreign exchange is often considered the prime objective of all promotional activity. Obviously, then authenticity get sacrificed and the market forces asking for quantity production of artifacts begin to rule. Another serious side of this issue relates to the role of middleman. No doubt, tourism helps in preserving various cultural manifestations, artifacts and makers of these artifacts are encouraged through the medium of state emporiums, festivals and private entrepreneurs, but tourism industry is controlled by middlemen who dictate to the artists what sells and in the process also makes the real profit. In the process, the real thing is prettified and deodorized so much so that, according to a researcher, the craftsmen in Goa and Rajasthan have forgotten traditional patterns, shapes and designs. Thus, while tourism lives off culture, it also destroyed it. In Khajuraho, for instance, the villagers have taken to selling their ancestral vessels to the tourists. Cheap aluminium vessels replace these time-honored things, thus losing the identity of the culture. Tourism has furthered the process of improvising culture by claiming to make it into an authentic show. The art objects are often injured in this cultural oversell. For example, it is common to find Ganeshas, Natarajas, Devis in the Indian drawing rooms and on show. The attitude is normally found among the members of urban middle and upper middle class. They curse their rootlessness and this technology-ridden existence and pine of simple life. In their menu, simple equal real or natural and authentic equals are rural. The crafts of India are diverse, rich in history, culture and religion. The craft of each state in India reflect the influence of different empires. Throughout centuries, craft have been embedded as a culture and tradition within rural communities. India's rich cultural heritage and centuries of evolutionary tradition is manifested by the huge variety of handicrafts made all over the country. Handicrafts are a mirror of the cultural identity of the ethnic people who make it. Though the ages, handicrafts made in India like the Kashmiri woolen carpets, embroidered fabrics, terracotta and ceramic products, silk fabrics, etc. have maintained their exclusiveness. In the ancient times, these handicrafts were exported to far-off countries of Europe, Africa, West Asia and Far East by the Silk Road. The entire wealth of timeless Indian handicraft has survived through the ages. These crafts carry the magnetic appeal of the Indian culture that promises exclusively the beauty, dignity and the style. So, the various examples of handicrafts popular in India are Pashmina shawls, where Pashmina is a fine type of wool, woodwork. The northern states of India have a rich tradition of the woodwork, which is very famous at a global level as well. Then pottery, jute, brass handicrafts and the bamboo handicrafts. Again, these all handicrafts are very popular in India and the people or the tourists who are visiting India are very much fond of these handicrafts. Handicraft was one of the major components of the renaissance of Indian thought in the 19th and 20th centuries as social reformers started promoting village-based crafts for culture and economic regeneration of India. Mahatma Gandhi Charkha symbolized these profound thought and became a mighty tool for the fight of India's independence. The long years of colonialism had successfully marginalized India's traditional arts and crafts. Handicraft has always been an integral part of life and culture of India. Handicraft, more precisely expressed as a unique handicraft, sometimes also called artisanry, is a type of work where useful and decorative devices are made completely by hand or by using only simple tools. It is a traditional and main sector of craft. Usually the term is applied to traditional means of making foods. The individual architecture of the items is a paramount criteria. Such items often have cultural and religious significance, thus promoting cultural tourism in India at a global level. Handicrafts goods are generally considered more traditional work in traditional, non-industrial and transitional societies, created as a somewhat more necessary part of daily life in comparison to industrial societies. While arts and crafts implies more of a hobby pursuit and a demonstration or perfection of a creative technique. Thus, our handicrafts are very famous if you talk about the tourists who are visiting India every year. So friends, the next subtopic is performing arts. The performing arts forms, dance, music, drama are important attractions for tourists. Performing art centers and theatres are often developed as considerable cost for such presentations, primarily for the benefits of residents, but often substantially supported by tourists. Moreover, special cultural events such as religious carnivals and fairs or cultural festivals at particular places, for instance Pushkar Mela, Taj Mahotsav, Surajkund Mela, are significant attractions which lure tourists. This kind of tourism often depends on the visitors' desire to experience diverse cultural landscape and forms. It can also be an important technique for reviewing and focusing interest on the preservation of local cultural expressions that otherwise might be forgotten. Every tour operator packages cultural events as a source of entertainment in the itineraries. They are used for evening and night entertainment, and in many cases the cultural features of a region are the subjects of themed dinners. So all these cultural features and the themed dinners are very much famous, which are pertaining to our culture in India. So the concept of performing arts is the next subtopic. First of all, what is art? Art is an expression of all characteristics of the human mind aesthetically. These characteristics, that is, the varied human emotions, are known as ras in Hindi. Ras literally means a sugary juice. It signifies the ultimate satisfaction of Anand. Human emotions can be categorized into 9 subheadings or navras. Art reflects human emotions, and human beings spontaneously express their frame of mind through various art forms. Thus, the intellectual mind merges with artistic streak, giving birth to art. The expression is reflected in various styles like singing, dancing, drawing, painting, acting, sculpture. Some of these are expressed through live performances and others through visual arts. Sketching, painting, sculpture are visual arts. Singing, dancing, acting are attributes of performing arts. Music from time immemorial has been the most popular art form of India, and it is still exists. In this endeavor, overseas as well as domestic tourists are supplied with colorful pamphlets which allure them to experience the live ritual dances or traditional music of ethnic or tribal communities. The important feature of such promotional ventures is that anything that is ethnic becomes fashionable. The tourist brochures promise to take the visitors back in the past by showing the visitors of the same setting and same charm in which the cultural items were originally organized, as if history can be recreated. Along with authentic cultural recipe, the tourists are also promised all modern amenities, including trendy restaurants and costly places of stay. This curious thing of the past and present is typically of the marketing strategy of the tourist trade. But currently these days, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, our cultural tourism in terms of the fair, festivals, architectures and all those things have clearly been impacted by the COVID-19, and there is a decline in the overall visit of international tourists to India. It is a significant feature of such tourism promotion that with the advent of tourist gaze and its attendant market impact, the material form and content of much indigenous art have become adopted to meet external tourist demands. However, the demands of the tourism industry are such that universal return to traditional art and culture forms would be almost impossible and perhaps from an economic perspective undesirable. This commercialization of culture for marketing it to the tourist destroys it for the host, because it is clearly impacting our local community at the same time. What happened to Goa's carnival is a good example. So origin of carnival is obscure, but it is believed that it was introduced by the Portuguese. It was somewhat similar to Holi, where masked youngsters pelted colored water and wheat flour at one another. These festivals acted like a safety valve in the Goan society, providing a release of tension. Gradually it became a show with many live bands, clad women and cardboard cutouts of sponsor products. Thus the carnival was appropriated by the government and private companies to their own ends. The role which tourism plays in transforming cultural, collective and individual values is inherent in the ideas of commoditization, which implies that what were one personal cultural display of living traditions or a cultural text of lived authenticity now become a cultural product which meets the demand of commercial tourism. Art form is no longer thought of as an expression of imagination or creativity, but the talk about it as a product. People no more get moved by the experiences that art has to offer, but they consume them. Culture thus has become a very important commodity in terms of promoting our cultural tourism at a global level. A serious question to be posed here is that will such commoditization help the tourism in the long run? The answer should be straight no. This is because in the pursuit of short-term profits, the authenticity of the cultural product is eroded, and after a while it ceases to be an attraction. The consumers look elsewhere for more genuine and authentic products. That is why there is currently a decline in the visits to the cultural tourism products in India. Researchers have proved that every destination has a life cycle. Unfortunately, the travel trade rarely takes any note of these aspects. Hence, it is time that the tourism industry should come forward for the conservation and preservation of various cultural aspects rather than only asking for incentives, benefits and concessions. The next subtopic is music, dance and drama. Music, dance and drama or the folk theatre are very popular and rich in India, where as somebody playing the dhol, the music instrument of course, and there is a music, we run to see what it is. There is Lori, which is normally held on 30th January every year in the northern part of our country. People are singing and dancing with a lot of enthusiasm. These dances are called Bhangra and Gidda in Punjab. These songs and dances portray the various stages in our lives. They reflect the socio-religious customs and practices of rural people earlier, but now are a part of modern society in India and the culture also. So it is impacting our culture at the same time. No school program is complete without them. They are linked through centuries of celebrations and might have started with fertility rites of obtain prosperity for the agricultural community. That is fertility of land and cattle, but also of birth and survival of children. There are many reasons for celebration that is difficult to list them. Why don't you make a list of activities and find out how, where and why people are celebrated? You will not only find this very interesting, but you will be able to put a full stop to it, because the number is very, very large, that you will never be able to know all the music, dance and drama that our country has. India is a land of rich culture and heritage. Since the beginning of our civilization, music, dance and drama have been an integral aspect of our culture. Initially, these art forms were used as medium of propagation of religion and social reforms, in which music and dance were incorporated to gain popularity. From the Vedic era to the medieval period, the performing arts remained an important source of educating the masses. The Vedas laid down precise rules of the chanting of Vedic rhymes. Even the pitch and the accent of singing different rhythms have been prescribed. There was more of exemplary presentation through them than education or social reforms. Presently, these art forms have become means of entertainment for people at a global level. hence attracting huge chunk of people to India for the promotion of culture. So the next subtopic is divisions of Indian classical music. During the medieval period, Indian classical music was broadly based on two traditions: the Hindustani classical music prevalent in North India and the Carnatic music of South India. Hindustani classical music. Hindustani classical music may be traced back to the period of the Delhi Sultanate and to Amir Khusro, who encouraged the practice of musical performance with particular instruments. He is believed to have invented the sitar and the tabla and is said to have introduced new ragas. Most of the Hindustani musicians trace their descent to Tansen. Different styles of Hindustani music are Drupad, Dhamar, Thumri, Hyal and Tapa. It is said that Tansen's music had the effect of magic. He could stop the rising waves of the Yamuna, and by the force of his Meghrag, he could cause the rain to fall. In fact, his melodious songs are sung in every part of India, even now with great interest. So it is still a very popular form of music. Some of Akbar country's patronized musicians like Viju Bawra, Surdas are also very famous. Carnatic music. The composition in Carnatic music may be attributed collectively to three composers who lived between 1700 to 1850. They were Shyam Shastri, Tyagraj, Diktishar. Purandar Dasa was another great composer of Carnatic music. Tyagraja is revered both as saint and an artist and has the essence of Carnatic music. The main compositions are known as Kriti and are devotional in nature. The three great musicians experimented with new forms. Some notable musicians of this period are Mahavidyanath Iyer, Patnam Iyer and Ramanand Ingyar. Flute, veena are some of the instruments to accompany Carnatic music. Modern Indian music. With the British rule came Western music. Indian adopted some of their instruments such as violin to suit the demands of Indian music. Orchestra of music on stage is a new development. Use of cassettes replaced oral transmission of tunes and ragas. Performances which were earlier limited to privileged few have now been thrown open to the public and can be viewed by the thousands of music lovers throughout the country. Music education no longer depends on the master-disciple system, but can be imparted through institutions' teaching systems, which are the trend these days. Folk music. Besides classical music, India has a rich legacy of folk or popular music. This music represents the emotion of the masses. The simple songs are composed to make every event in life. They may be festivals, advent of a new season, marriage, birth of a child. Rajasthani folk songs such as Bathali and Mand of Bengal are popular all over India. Ragani is a popular form of folk music of Haryana. Folk songs have their special meanings or messages. They often describe historical events and important rituals. Kashmir Gulraj is usually a folklore, and Pandyani of Madhya Pradesh is narrative put to music. Muslims sing Suchkwani or mournful songs during Muharram and Christmas. Carols and choral musics are sung in groups on the festive occasions. Dances of India. Dances in India comprises numerous styles of dances, generally classified as classical or folk. As with other aspects of Indian culture, different forms of dances originated in India in different parts, developed according to the local traditions and also imbibed elements from other parts of the country. Sangeet Natya Academy, the National Academy of Performing Arts in India, recognizes 8 traditional dances as Indian classical dances, with other sources and scholars recognize more. So these have roots in Sanskrit texts, Natya Shastra and the religious performing arts of Hinduism. Folk dances are numerous in number and style and vary according to the local tradition of the respective state, ethnic or could be geographic regions. Contemporary dances include refined and experimental fusions of classical, folk and Western forms. Dancing traditions of India have influenced not only over the dance in the whole of South Asia, but on the dancing forms of Southeast Asia as well. Dances in India, forms like Bollywood dance for Hindi films are often noted for free-form expressions of dance and hold a significant presence in popular culture of the Indian continent. Well-known dance forms of modern India. Like music, Indian dance has also developed a rich classical tradition. It has a great power of expression and emotions while telling a story. In India, the art of dancing may be traced back to the Harappan culture. The discovery of bronze statue of the dancing girl testifies to the fact that some women in Harappan culture performed dances. In traditional Indian culture, the function of dances was also given symbolic expressions to the religious ideas. The figure of Lord Shiva as Nataraja expresses the creation and destruction of the cosmic cycle. The popular image of Shiva in the form of Nataraja clearly shows that popularity of dance form of Indian people is there. There is not a single temple, at least in the southern part of the country, which does not have the sculptures of the dance in which they perform. In fact, classical dance forms like Kathakali, Bharatnatyam, Kathak, Manipuri, Kuchipudi and Odissi are very, very important and very famous parts of our cultural heritage. Along with classical dance forms, folk dance are also being flourishing. In most of the regions, the local dance form became very popular. Manipuri dance, Santhal dance, Rabindranath Tagore dance, drama, Ras, Gidda, Bhangra, Garba are some of the folk dances that have flourished in India. They are equally popular and have extreme acumen and innovation. Particularly, every region of the country has developed its own rich tradition of folk dances. Example, the Bihu dance of Assam, Mas dance of Ladakh, Bangla dance of Meghalaya, Bhutia dance of Sikkim. Similarly, we also have some dances which are called martial dances like Cholia of Uttaranchal, Kalari of Kerala, Thangta of Manipur, among the very, very famous one. Drama. Indigenous tradition as well as modern research trace the origin of Indian drama to the Vedas. In the Ramayana, we hear of drama depicting of women, while Kautalyas, Arthashastras mentions musicians, dancers and dramatic shows. Drama is a performing art, of course, which has been practiced since time immemorial. Drama could spring from a child play. The child enacts, mimics and other things which are definitely the beginning of dramas. Presently, various types of dramas are flourishing and some of them are stage theatre, radio theatre, nukkar or street plays, monodrama or the one-man show, music theatre, short skits, one-act plays. Present scenario of the performing arts. Presently, all the three art forms, dance, music and drama are flourishing in India. Several music institutions like Gandharva, Mahavidyalaya, Prayag, Sangeet Samiti have been imparting training in classical music and dance for many, many years round the clock. A number of schools, colleges and universities in India have adopted these art forms as a part of their curriculum. Indira Kala Sangeet Vishwavidyalaya of Karigarh is a university of music. Kathak Kendra, National School of Drama, Bharatiya Kala Kendra and many institutes are all have propagating music in their own ways. Music conferences, bethaks, lecture demonstrations are being organized very frequently. So friends, let's sum up all the topics which we have covered today. We discussed about the various facts about handicraft and performing arts of India and its impact on the tourism sector. A brief history of the same was also discussed related to handicrafts and performing arts, and the famous performing arts and handicrafts were also listed. We also discussed about the various dance forms. Furthermore, significance of performing arts of India was also discussed. Thank you very much.